Good morning, YouTube, or good afternoon, or good evening, or whenever you're watching this. Welcome to the Just Saying Show, where we talk about everything and anything, current political climate, Bible-based Christianity, guns, gear, and ammo. Pretty much anything that pops into my mind that I feel like we need to talk about. So we'll get started today. I'm going to make this short, sweet, and to the point. We're going to talk about the political climate. What in the blazes is going on, folks? What do we got going on here? And how is it that anybody can't see what's going on? The writing is on the wall. The political culture is absolutely off the freaking charts at this time of year, or this year. I mean, this is worse than I've ever seen it in my entire life. I've been through the Clinton era. I've been through the Obama era. I've been through the Bush era. I've even been through the Reagan era. This has gone nuts. So listen, let's talk about this. Let me start with the premise of this. This is a well-coordinated effort. What we've got going on right now is a well-coordinated, highly funded effort to disrupt and sway the midterms to the left. Let's just get to the point. The events that are going on are designed, implemented, executed, and put to work to sway the midterms to the left. Let's go over the four key events that we've had thus far, just during the early election. And let me preface that by saying if these are the four during the early election period, then we need to really watch out because there's something coming. I would be willing to bet there is something coming on election day or a day or two before. So if November 6th is election day, then you need to look at the 4th and the 5th and see what happens on those days. What's going to happen in those days leading up to the elections that will try to sway those last-minute voters who are walking the line to sway left. Let's look at the first step. First step, Migrant Caravan. This is not a caravan. This is an invasion. Caravans don't knock down fences and throw rocks at police and burn buildings down and steal cars and vehicles and latch themselves onto the side of trucks. That's not a migration. That's an invasion. Let's make it very clear. This is an invasion. Now, within that invasion, are there good people? Probably. Are there people that genuinely want to come here to work? Most likely. Do we want migrants to come here to America to work and thrive and be successful? Absolutely. We absolutely want them to be here. Matter of fact, we need them to be here. I work in the transportation industry. I can tell you we are short-handed of good quality Class A CDL drivers who are willing to work. It is a mass shortage. We can't even find them. So do we want these people? Yes, we want these people here. But we want them here we want them here legally. We want them here so that I can put them to work, so that they can pay taxes, so that they can be accountable to their actions, so that they can become true citizens of the United States and enjoy all the rights that the Constitution has to offer. Unless they do that legally, they're not U.S. citizens, and therefore they are not entitled to the benefits of the United States Constitution. And whatever you liberals out there want to say, go ahead and throw the comments below. But the reality of it is, at the end of the day, you're wrong. I had a drill sergeant in the military that used to use a specific term, but I won't get into it. But listen, this Migrant Caravan, it is absolutely a well-coordinated effort. This has to be funded by some kind of liberal groups. What we're seeing today with these guys coming in is that they're there specifically to affect the vote in the southern states. Those are the states where the minority vote, the swing vote, is primarily Latino. We're talking about Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, California. But California, we all know that they've gone full liberal. They've lost their freaking minds over there, and look what it's done. Matter of fact, those Californians keep mass exodusing to Texas. We see Californians coming in here by the droves. We've already got a migration. It's a California to Texas migration. Please keep your California politics in California. Don't ruin Texas. But having said that, this migrant caravan is primarily going to affect southern states, and that's what it's intended to do. As they move forward into the southern states, they're going to affect those minority Latino voters. And whoever's funding this knows that that's what the effect is going to be. It's going to drive the minority Latino voters out to vote in droves. But ladies and gentlemen, let me give you a little word of advice. My fellow brothers and sisters who are Latino here in Texas. I love you. We love you. But understand, illegal immigration brings wages down. Do the research, do the math. Illegal immigration brings wages down. So if you own a successful business where you are mowing grass, you're selling a product, you've got a service, you've got a trucking company. If you want to make the money that you're currently making, you should be standing up to illegal immigration more than anybody else. In amongst the rest of us. You should be standing right beside us. Because your wages, your expenses are going to go up. Your wages are going to go down. Your profits are going to tank. And why? Because Mr. Illegal Alien over there, who's used to making about 30 cents a day, is going to come over here and think that $2 a day is great. And out of that $2 a day, he's going to send $1 back to Honduras or Panama or Mexico or wherever he came from. And he's going to live high on the hog. His family's going to live high on the hog back there. And all the while, you're going to be struggling. Listen, folks. I love these people. I want them to come here. I want them to be successful. I want them to be productive citizens of the United States. But we've got to do it the right way so that we can track them. We can tax them. They can contribute to society. They're not a drain. And yet, they have opportunity. And ladies and gents, they'll have opportunity. If they come here legally, they're going to have grand opportunity. But we don't need them jumping in front of the line. We don't need them circumventing the processes which we have in place. So Latino voters, my brothers and sisters, my friends, my co-workers, those of you who we have good relationships with, please vote red this November. Please vote red this midterm. We've got to stop this migrant invasion. Don't let the liberals brainwash you into thinking that it's an attack on the brown people, that it's an attack on the black people, that it's an attack on minorities. Listen, liberals know they are losing minorities in droves, and that's why they're trying to attack and enslave the Latino vote. Don't let them do it. Don't let them enslave you. Think for yourselves. But ladies and gents, this particular incident, I'm going to get back on track here. This migrant caravan, that is an absolute move to drive and garner and enslave the Latino vote. It is very systemic. It's a systemic plan. And it's just well executed, except for the fact that it's late. And it's so late that it's not going to be effective as they'd like. So what do? The next thing we got a shooting in Kentucky. Some white supremacist whack job. Right? This guy goes absolutely off the charts. He's got a long history of violence. Should have never had a gun in the first place. Matter of fact, he was banned from having a gun. There you go. Your FBI laws don't work. Your laws, your gun control laws that you already have in place do not work. They didn't work in this situation. He wasn't supposed to have a gun. He'd already had domestic violence charges. He'd already had, I believe, previous felonies. Don't quote me on that. But I think he'd had, even his own parents said they didn't want him around because he was violent and scary. And yet this guy had access to a gun. How did he have access to a gun? Because he circumvented the laws. Laws don't prevent crime. They deal with the aftermath of it. To all my liberal friends out there, laws do not prevent crime. They simply deal with the aftermath of it. So if you think that creating more gun control laws is going to stop crime, you're delusional. I hate to tell you, but you're delusional. And it's never going to work. Wake up. But we have this whack job, this complete nutcase goes off. He approaches a church. They have people in the church. It happens to be an African-American church. Thank God these people had the good common sense to have a security plan in place. They had doors locked. They had people on call. They had systems in place to prevent violence from occurring in their place of worship. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus, that he was watching over them and he protected them, and that he gave them the wisdom and the foresight to be proactive in their self-defense. Thank you, Jesus, they did. Because you know what? This dipstick couldn't get in. He tried, and he probably would have murdered God knows how many people had he made it in. But he couldn't because the doors were locked, because they had a security plan in place, and they implemented the security plan every single time. And it worked. And so what did this guy do? He got frustrated. And where did he go? He went to a soft target. He went to a Kroger's grocery store, found two innocent people, two innocent African Americans, and he killed them on the spot. For no other reason than the color of their skin. This guy's nuts. But what if those people had been able to defend themselves? What if they had? What if they had had common sense security measures in place? What if the store had an armed guard in place? Would this have occurred? Maybe, maybe not. Would people be dead? Maybe, maybe not. But I can tell you that the church's plan worked and the Kroger's plan didn't. Kroger's plan resulted in 2 deaths of innocent people. But you know the problem is, common sense security measures didn't make headline news because there weren't 70 people dead in a church. There were only 2 poor innocent people dead in a grocery store. So that doesn't work. The narrative doesn't fit the liberal agenda, so it didn't make it on the news real big. It was about a 1 or 2 day thing. You almost hear nothing about it anymore. Because it was immediately overshadowed by this another nutcase, this Sayok. I shouldn't even mention his name. We'll just call him Nutcase. We have another nutcase in Florida. Supposedly, now I don't know, there's all kinds of conspiracy theories out there. There's all kinds of information out there that doesn't, maybe is it true or it's not true. There's some indication that he was a registered Democrat for years and years and years. Within about the past year or so, he suddenly registered as a Republican, plastered his van with stickers all over the place. Like, that's not an indication that you're a freaking whack job. And listen, folks, if you have a gazillion freaking political stickers that all are over one thing, you're probably nuts. You probably have a problem and you need to get checked. Whether that's Trump stickers or Hillary stickers. If you have a bazillion of them all over your car, you probably got some things going on, some issues. Not to judge, but you might want to just check yourself. But anyway, here we have this Florida bomber, supposedly went from Democrat to Republican about a year or 2 ago. Went to a couple Trump rallies, got all riled up, got all excited. Plasters his van with all kinds of pro-Trump stickers. And then all of a sudden, this guy out of the freaking blue decides that it's a great idea to send inert, and I want to make this clear, they were inert bombs, to the most vocal, the most vehement, the most inflammatory Democrat political leaders in this country. And if you don't think these people are fanning the flames of division on the Democrat side, you are sadly mistaken. But this whack job decides to supposedly mail these bombs off to these political leaders, and not one supposed bomb goes off. Really? Really? Spent some time in the military. I was a combat engineer, and then I became an MP. As a combat engineer, I can tell you, it doesn't take much to make a bomb go off. It doesn't take a genius to create a bomb that will actually explode. And not one of this guy's bombs went off, or supposed bombs went off. Why do you think that was, folks? Why do you think that this guy, about a year ago, decided maybe he was going to become a Republican and be all pro-Trump, and then all of a sudden he's going to send a bunch of inert bombs to a bunch of Democrats? Key Democrats? Extremely vocal and volatile Democrats? Come on. And this guy supposedly conservative. He's an ex-male stripper, avid steroid user, from what the reports say. Supposedly a Trump supporter, but he sent these inert bombs. Come on, folks. This is cover-up and covert ops and false flags. I mean, come on. Please do not fall victim to the ridiculousness that is this orchestrated program of influence. Please don't. Please do not. Think for yourselves. If this guy genuinely wanted these bombs to go off, somebody would have got hurt. May not have been the target, but there are conveyor belts that move this stuff and shake it around and drop it and bang it. Look, I work in the transportation industry. I work in one of the top 3 shippers in the country. And I can tell you that as this stuff passes by, it is beat to hell. As a matter of fact, I was directly affected by it. My employees were directly affected by it. The people I work with were directly affected by it. Here in Texas, in San Antonio area, we were directly affected by it when a bomb went off in one of our facilities. And it took the police and the FBI weeks, if not months, to find this nutcase in Texas. And when they did find him, it was through all these different means. It just so happened that he was on video, and that's really what sank him. Thank God. Excuse me. But the reason they found him was because it was through deep investigation, extreme efforts, working diligently to get it, and it still took weeks and months to find this guy. He terrorized people in Central Texas for months before they found him and determined what he was doing. But you're going to tell me that this guy in Florida sends a few bombs, and within about a week they find all the bombs that they know of. None of them went off. And supposedly this guy was caught like that and just happened to be a Trump supporter. I've read reports of other guys creating bombs in other places in this country, sending it to Republican headquarters, whatever, but those stories never made the news. Why do you think that is? They are trying to influence the centerline voter, ladies and gents. They are trying to influence you, those centerline voters, those independents who are sway the line back and forth based on the political climate of the day. They're trying to convince you and brainwash you into thinking that the conservative Republican Party is a bunch of whack jobs and white supremacists and evil people. We're not. We are not. We're not anti-Semitic. We are not white supremacists. We don't hate everybody. We don't call for violence. And you can say all you want about Trump's rhetoric, but I've not once heard him call for violence. He's called for common sense measures that prevent violence, if anything. But we go from the Florida bomber, and here's the last one. And when we first heard about this Florida bomber, I knew it off the bat. I said, man, this guy, he's gonna be Republican because they need something to stir that pot. They need something to use there because the immigrant caravan isn't working. The Kentucky shooting didn't really pan out the way they wanted it to. It didn't get as much support as they thought they'd get out of it. Now we got this Florida bomber, and at that time I said, man, this guy's going to come out Republican, and then there's going to be something else. There's going to be a next step. We got to see something else, some hot button topic. And even then, at that point, I said, before they even knew who this Florida bomber was, I said, it'll probably be a shooting. And this shooting will very likely involve an AR-15 or some kind of scary pistol or both. And what did we see? Sadly, folks, not even a week after I said that, and I had that discussion with a family member, just as I predicted, there was a shooting. And unfortunately, this time, physical security measures were not in place. People, totally off topic. First, let me start by saying, my heart goes out to the people who lost families, their family members, friends, religious leaders. My heart goes out to the Jewish people. Here we are in America. in 2018, and here we have anti-Semitism growing? For what? What did these people do that warranted this whack job killing them? There is no explanation for it. There's no explanation for insanity. There's no explanation for somebody being mentally unstable. There is no explanation, and there is no way to stop somebody who is absolutely off their frickin' rocker. There's not. The only way to stop them is to put in physical security measures which slow or hinder their operation. That's what needs to happen. It's the same thing we're calling for in these schools. Physical security. You need to have the doors locked. You need to have people that are there to watch those doors. You need to have people who are armed to stop another armed individual. 11 people were killed in that synagogue. 11 people. Not one of them should have been killed. Not one of them was protected by the church which they worshipped at. Not one of them was protected in the state and the city where they were at. I hate to tell you, Pittsburgh, but you need to get your act together. The reason they died has nothing to do with gun control, has everything to do with insanity control and physical security measures. Ridiculous. Should have never happened. It has nothing to do with the guns. It has to do with the crazy person who was behind it. And that's what it boils down to. And ladies and gentlemen, crazy people can be influenced. Crazy people can be pushed. Crazy people can be broken. And crazy people can be driven to do insane things. I don't know how this guy was influenced. I don't know what influenced him. I don't know what his background was or what drove him to do what he was doing. But he's nuts. The guy was nuts. And he did things that nuts people do, crazy people do. And he went in and he killed 11 people. Listen, YouTube friends. Listen, voters. That's 4 things which occurred in the short period of time of the early elections. Prior to that, we hadn't had anything. Political climate rises, the stakes get high, liberal Democrats suddenly realize they're not going to win this, or they might not win this election unless something sways the vote. So what did they got? They got a Migrant Caravan to influence Latino and minority votes. They've got a Kroger shooting in Kentucky, which was a thwarted church shooting, which is designed to drive minority African American votes. You have a Florida bomber, which is supposedly went to send out bombs to liberal Democrat, vehemently opposing liberal Democrat leaders who were designed to sway the middle line voter to think that all conservatives, are nuts. And then finally you have this murder in the synagogue in Pittsburgh, which is designed to paint the conservative Republican Party as anti-Semitic and at the same time garner that minority and very powerful votes. Listen, minority, if you're a minority, you are extremely powerful. You may not know it. You may be smaller in numbers over the overall population, but you're extremely powerful. Why do you think that the Democrats are vying for your vote so heavily? Why do you think they're willing to kill people and murder people and stir the pot of division and racial division? Because they want your vote. They want you to think that guys like me are the enemy. We're not. We stand with you. We stand beside you. You're Americans just like us. And we're Americans just like you. So to hear them stir the pot of division is ridiculous. But they want your vote. They're going to work for it. And they're going to do everything they can to the point of violence. To the point of evil, dirty, underhanded tactics. Don't let them win. But here's the final thought. If we've got a migrant caravan that didn't work, if we've got a racially motivated shooting in Kentucky that didn't work, if we've got a Florida bomber that sent inert bombs, this sort of fake flag that didn't work. And now we've got a synagogue shooting that's not fanning the flames of division, and it's not spurring gun control, and it's not going to get gun control out of it. What's the next step? Think about this, folks. You need to be cautious. We're coming up on November 6th. I'm going to call you to go out and vote. Use your voice to vote. Use your voice to tell Liberal Democrat Party that this isn't okay. The 2-year-long investigations of the United States President to find nothing is not okay. Go and tell them that haranguing and harassing and running through the ringer a good man without evidence, convicting him of a crime that there's no evidence to back up, is wrong. Tell them that all these subversive tactics are not welcome in the American political system. And the way you tell them is by representing leaders who speak truth. You may not like everything Donald Trump says. You may not even like Donald Trump. But at the end of the day, he says what he does and he does what he says. He follows through with what he has. He's not lying to you. He's not telling you the half-truths. He's not working behind the scenes to make people disappear. But what you need to think about is what's the next step. When liberal Democrats at the top, and I'm not talking about the voters. Listen, if you're a liberal Democrat voter out there, I have some good family members, some good friends, have really good hearts. Love them to death. They're lost. They're confused. But I love them. And unfortunately, these people, those aren't the ones I'm talking about. They're not working the inner workings of it. I'm talking about the political leaders. I'm talking about the campaign managers who are misspending money and lying about it. I'm talking about high-end, top-of-the-line, top of the political spectrum leaders who are pushing a globalist agenda, who are pushing for bringing America down to the level of everybody else. Look, let's not bring America down. Let's use America to bring the world up. And the only way we can do that is if we're at the top of the mountain and we can reach down and pull these people up. That's what we're trying to do. Think about that when you go to the voting booth this season, November 6th. Think about that. Think about that when you go to the voting booth and you push the agenda and you're sitting there in front of it and you're thinking, what do I vote for? Who do I vote for? Think about that. Vote for that individual who you know has put in policies and supported policies which have increased your wealth, which have increased what you take home, which have increased the economy, boosted the economy, lowered unemployment. Those things which have caused movement of unity. Ladies and gents, there's a mass exodus from the Democratic Party. All you got to do is go look it up. Look on YouTube. Look at the hashtag walk away movement. Hashtag Blexit. I'm telling you, they're terrified. And they'll do whatever it takes. So as we come into November 6th, I want you to be cautious. Keep your eyes open, your head up. Pray to the good Lord above that he protects you and yours. And pray that whatever plans are out there are thwarted, because there's something going to come. And if they don't feel like they're going to win, they'll do what it takes. They'll do whatever it takes to get that W on their side. I know it's ironic. I'm wearing a blue shirt. I'm talking about voting red. Listen, folks, vote red this November 6th. Vote red. Get out there and vote. Keep your head up. Keep your attitude and your spirits up. Pray to the good Lord above. Engage in his word. God bless. And until next time, I'm just saying.